to explain exactly why your net worth has plunged today. And should we be worried? Is this a bad sign of more terrible price action to come? Is the top for the market cycle already in? Yes, we'll get into all of that. But I gotta tell you, this does nothing to shake my confidence that the best is still yet ahead, including for this market cycle. In fact, as one popular chart analyst points out, as it pertains to XRP specifically, this is nothing more than a shakeout, and this stuff happens in crypto markets all the time. It would be weird if it didn't actually. But before going further, I do want to be 6.25% over the last 24 hours, currently hanging at $2.75. Its low was very close. It's $2.74 actually. So who knows what the hell it is by the time you're watching this. There's certainly a possibility things get a little bit worse before they get better. This does not mean that we're all doomed and that the cycle peak was already in and we just didn't know yet. That's not what this means. And just to be clear, I'm not pretending to know for sure what's going to happen. I don't speak in absolutes when it comes to markets, pretty much never. I'm just telling you what my conviction is. And there's tons of reasons. I mean, especially over the last several days in particular, anytime I've made a video where I'm talking about the market, I've spent a lot of time talking not just about XRP, yes, of course, about XRP, but also about macro conditions and why it makes sense to believe that what's most probable, though not certain, is that we are going to see that final parabolic push to the upside. The fact that the price is down today does not change that, period. Bitcoin, of course, dropped dramatically too, getting as low as $109,000. It's a little above that right now, $109,349. But if you look at the 24-hour XRP chart and then the Bitcoin chart, as I go back and forth between these two tabs in the browser here, you can see these are the same charts. There's nothing wrong with XRP. Nothing's broken from a fundamental perspective. It's just that risk assets took a hit today. I mean, take a look at this. This is from Watcher Guru. And he's talking about crypto markets here, of course. Said, just in, $170 billion wiped out from the crypto market cap in the past 24 hours. And he ain't kidding. The market cap for the crypto asset class is down to $3.64 trillion as I record this video. For a little bit of context and perspective, if you've been here, unless you did something stupid, I don't know what you would have had to have bought to have been this bad off, but I mean, I guess it's possible. But for a little perspective, though, just almost a year ago, before the election in November, the market cap for the crypto asset class was 2.2 trillion. It is now 3.64 trillion. It's just regular volatility. This stuff happens in crypto, and yeah, it's dramatic. It was a big drop. My net worth went down a lot too today. So what? It doesn't matter. I wasn't planning on selling today. I'm not going to sell until prices are way higher. And that's why I always say too, even if my suspicions are incorrect, which is possible, like let's say the top's already in for the market cycle. Well, what if? Well, then you know what I'm going to do is precisely nothing. Literally nothing. I will continue to hold the same quantity of crypto that I hold. If prices get low enough, I'll even be enticed to actually purchase more. And then I'll just wait till we have a new market rally, even if that takes several years, and then I win. Because that's what it takes to win. Like folks, you got to make peace with that. You control the parts you can control. Because you don't control when the market's going to go on a rampage to the upside and when it collapses, but you do control whether or not you have exposure to the asset class. And given that this thing keeps trending to the upside, it just makes no logical sense to be living in fear here. So even if I'm wrong, which is possible, and the market, it's already topped and we're going to crater on down, so what? We'll do a post-mortem and talk about it and try and figure out what we missed or got wrong. But I do not believe that is remotely probable. I really don't. And I will continue to highlight that in videos unless or until I see reason to believe that is the case. There are so many indications and history rhyming with itself. Global M2 increasing. And crypto follows that. It just does not make sense to be fearful here. But still, we got the headline. This is from Yahoo Finance. Stock market today. Dow, S&P 500, NASDAQ slide for third day as Wall Street slump continues. So let's talk a little bit about why this happened. And it wasn't just crypto. It was traditional finance as well, as this headline obviously indicates. And it all comes down to how markets are reacting to stronger than expected economic data. And this might sound counterintuitive, but let me explain here. Jobless claims came in lower than expected. And GDP growth was actually revised sharply higher. So that sounds like good news, right? Sure. But here's the thing. When the economy looks strong, the Fed is less likely to cut interest rates. And that's exactly what spooked the market. So yeah, we did get one rate cut recently. There's been expectation we're going to get at least 2 more this year. Well, data like this puts that into question. It spooks the market. That's what happened today. That's not a coincidence. And so investors, again, they've been pricing in multiple rate cuts this year, hoping for looser financial conditions. But, strong data like this definitely throws some cold water on the narrative, doesn't it? Yields pushed higher, and that tightened the screws on everything from tech stocks to Bitcoin and XRP. That is what happened. And big tech led the drop in equities, but obviously crypto felt it even harder. In particular, from a percentage loss perspective. But, when rate cut hopes fade, riskier assets get hit the most. That's it. That's all that's happening here. Nothing's fundamentally broken with XRP. The fundamentals for XRP have never been stronger. And so, yeah, riskier, quote unquote, riskier assets get hit the most. And of course, crypto's at the top of the list. Hence, XRP down today. And it's also more volatile and more leveraged. So when the selling starts, as I've shown you, it snowballs quickly. Holy liquidation, Batman. Like, that's exactly what happened here. Here's a post from chart analyst Credible Crypto from this afternoon, 3:24 p.m., so just a few hours back. He's not concerned, and I'm certainly not. Here's what he had to say, zooming out to remind you all of where we are in the bigger picture so you don't get lost in the lower time frames, meaning the short term, and panic unnecessarily. High time frames remain unequivocally bullish, and the current correction is considered normal/healthy in higher time frame context. Higher time frame just means big picture. The idea shared below, it's the chart that's on your screen right here. I made it full screen. The idea shared below is the same idea covered in my last YouTube video, but sharing this chart to make it clear for those who may have missed it or need a reminder. And this is Bitcoin on your screen, of course. It says the chart below clearly shows the importance/significance of the $74,000 level I've been talking about for a while now and why it is so relevant. The current correction should either hold above the lows at $98,000, what we call a running flat, or potentially wick below them, what we call an expanded flat. But in either case, there is no change in higher time frame structure. Keep calm and get through this correction because what comes next is what you've been waiting for since 2018. Well, damn straight. Although for me, it's actually 2017. I've been holding crypto for almost a full 8 years now. And I'm just, to be honest with you, I'm feeling just as patient today as I was the first day I jumped into crypto. Because that is what it takes to be successful at investing. You just need to be more patient than everyone else. And again, you may want your Lambo on the moon right now. I get that, but be an adult and just recognize you can't control when the markets go. An adult will understand that either you have exposure when the market goes, and then you get your life-changing wealth and your Lambo on the moon, or you don't. So you get to choose that. You get to choose if you're going to be ridiculously wealthy or if you're going to panic sell. Yep, you do you, girl. I'm just saying. Here's a post from Alex Becker, very popular analyst with 1.3 million followers. And this morning, as everything was falling apart, Alex said, alts look like hell on earth right now. This is why I'm adding a lot here. Embrace the terror. And isn't that something? The folks that have been around for more than 5 seconds recognize that this is actually a buying opportunity. Now, mind you, I'm not purchasing anything. I'm not telling you to. I don't know what's best for you personally, so you do whatever the hell you want. I don't care if you buy, sell, hold, whatever. I'm just telling you my honest thoughts on the matter, just broadly speaking here. My bags are fully packed. For me to be enticed to sell, the market would just have to crater way, way, way lower. Like, I am more than positioned. I spent the better part of a decade positioning myself. Okay? I bought year after year after year after year. I'm ready. I'm at the point where I actually am just going to ride this out and wait until we have that euphoric blow-off top. And I think that's going to come sooner than later. Either it's going to be this year or at some point probably in the first half next year. But whenever it happens, I'm going to have exposure. And even if that means I have to wait another 4 years because I'm wrong, it's possible, then I'm going to sell in 4 years. But then the move up will be even bigger than if I sell this round. So, who who cares? It doesn't matter. I don't need that now. Like, you just need to, I understand we all want the riches, but understand, you got to have a proper mindset and find a way to be happy with your life as it is right now. Because if you're living in this world where all you do is dream about what future you deserves or should have or what you want, you're gonna miss actual life, which is happening right this very second. You still get to live life. You got to get yourself mentally right if you're having trouble with this concept. Like, you still get to live life. Find a way to make it meaningful. Like, honestly, if I never got the life-changing crypto wealth, like I say, I never sell it, I'm still happy. Find a way to get yourself there too. Just a suggestion, friendly suggestion. Here's a post from TechDev. He shared this with his 548,000 followers on X, and he wrote, if someone calls for an end-of-year top, your question should be, which year? Why do you see some saying it's early risk cycle? Because it's early risk cycle. So he's having a little bit of fun with this, okay? And this chart, it's been circulating a fair bit, it's fair to say. So he posted this, frankly, just like, a couple hours ago? About 2.5 hours ago. It's already got 34,800 views just in that very short time. This is going to get into the hundreds of thousands, if not higher. And for good reason. He's got a massive following, and he's a very data-driven individual. He does think that what is highly probable is that you are going to see this cycle extend into 2026, which is a minority opinion, but he's got a good hit rate. He's way more right than he is wrong. So the fact that he's saying that along with like Raoul Pal, Julian Biddle, I'm listening. I don't know for sure if that's true, but I do find their data to be rather compelling. And so, this chart from TechDev is worth understanding because it puts the current crypto market cycle into a broader macro context, which is of crucial importance. Even if you're really most interested in XRP, which is my case, you got to look at the broader macro context. And it suggests we're just getting started. The chart overlays global risk appetite, what's called the Global Risk Index, with price action from previous crypto cycles. So historically, every major crypto bull market has aligned with a rise in the risk index, which tends to bottom out and then start climbing just before the most explosive rallies. And, these turning points, they've all happened like clockwork every 4 years. Late 2012, late 2016, late 2020. And each time, we've seen a major risk-on cycle begin. Every single time. And every single time, that was leading to massive gains across crypto and other risk assets. That's a matter-of-fact statement, not an opinion. I don't think this time is different. And so now, as of September 2025, the same risk indicator is turning up again. The dates rather, they match like eerily well. Look at the chart on your screen here. It's eerie how much this matches up. Each past cycle had a roughly 1-year surge phase, sometimes a bit longer, around 448 days, and this chart suggests we may be entering that window right now for the final parabolic blow-off top. That's what he's getting at here. That's why some analysts are calling this an early risk cycle. It's also why, when someone says, they think we'll top out by the end of the year, TechDev is joking. He says, you should probably ask them which year they're talking about, because maybe it's 2026. Because if history repeats, it even just kind of rhymes with itself, we could be, and this is the point he's making, we could be in the early stages of a much larger move, with the real top not coming perhaps even until late 2026. So we'll see who's right about that, but there is data to support that thesis. So just keep an open mind. I'm not pretending to know if they'll end up being proven correct or not, but they could be, and if they are correct, it's just one more reason not to be freaking out that the market's down today. Everything's fine. Here's a post from chart analyst Dark Defender just yesterday. So before this most recent sell-off, he was already warning XRP could go a little bit lower, actually down to basically the levels that we've seen, pretty close to it anyway. So yesterday he said, XRP is nearing completion of the corrective action, A, B, C, D, E, and preparing for liftoff. We are nearing the end of the consolidation. After this consolidation and reclaiming $3.33, nothing will be able to stop what's coming. Road to double digits. So he was preaching that yesterday before the price drop, and I'm telling you, he's not changed his perspective. But look at how low he was saying you can potentially get here. Pretty close to, I guess what he cited here would be the $2.64 level. And at least at the time I'm recording this, we haven't dropped quite that low. but he knew it was possible we could go lower, and so he reposted that today, this afternoon, after all of the markets went red. And so at 1:33 p.m. Central Time, today he posted, XRP hits the E-wave support level as we discussed yesterday. It was a clear, simple chart. So none of this is looking particularly weird here, frankly. Crypto Insight UK, he's not exactly panicking either. Here's a XRP price chart. He says, XRP currently defending the level we stopped out at after our rally up from 50 cents. Nothing weird here, folks. Here's a post from chart analyst Dom. Order book update says, after spotting the clear books above Bitcoin and XRP, bulls took no advantage of them and ultimately showed more aggressive sellers than buyers even after a massive liquidation event. Some need to hear this too. Clear books does not equal guaranteed upside. It means the effort to go up is much less than if the books weren't clear. It's a simple gauge of effort, not a prediction of direction. So, with such little effort needed, bulls still failed to sustain anything, proving their state of weakness. $110,000 for Bitcoin and $2.70 for XRP are the only levels that stick out with bids below us. So we'll see what happens here, but even so, I know that's not like the most bullish post that you could possibly have here, but it doesn't highlight anything weird or broken about XRP. This just happens in crypto, folks. Speaking as somebody who has been here for every up and down that XRP has had since I first bought XRP on November 17th, 2017, that's the first day I ever bought XRP. I've never sold a single XRP. Just speaking as someone that's gone through every single up and down since then, this does not feel weird or particularly scary or anything like this. I mean, think back to when FTX collapsed. I know a lot of you listening were here back then, back in 2022. You know what I was doing back then, because I was still interested in increasing my crypto positions? I bought those dips, and everything that I bought then, when FTX collapsed in November of 2022, is worth a fortune compared to what I put in. I don't think there are any exceptions to that. I'm trying to think everything that I bought. I know I bought a bunch of HBAR, bought a bunch of Flare, Filecoin, Algorand. I mean, there are tons of coins that I purchased back then, and I talked about it publicly on X and on YouTube. And it's just like, I share that just to note, buying into the fear, if you're someone who's interested in increasing your crypto holdings, these are the types, like these capitulation events, these are the times where it makes sense to do that, broadly speaking. And then if you just wait years later, well, there you go. And it doesn't mean I bought the literal bottom in 2022, although a lot of it was pretty close. And so there were moments when I bought and then went lower. And some of that stuff I was either down or about break even for a long time. But then we've had a surge since then, haven't we? And now that stuff it's worth a fortune compared to what I paid for it. Well, that's just how this works, folks. Nothing's changed here. Fast forward another 4 years out, I'm willing to bet the market's going to be a lot higher than it is today at the peak of the next market cycle. Way higher. Here's a post from chart analyst Casey Trades, XRP USD on the screen here. She's very optimistic this is nothing more than a shakeout. Check this out. Says, after a heavy rejection at the $3 resistance, XRP has lost its major 0.5 fib support at $2.79 and even came back up to test it as resistance. The rejection was sharp and the RSI is reflecting strong selling pressure. This suggests that the market may need lower to truly be done. I think this is likely around $2.71. This is the bottom trend line of the consolidation and, importantly, would still not make a new low in the correction. I was expecting the market to print a lower low in the candle bodies while showing bullish divergence on the relative strength index, RSI. We are now seeing this divergence forming on the higher time frames, but the smaller time frames haven't fully exhausted yet. This suggests the larger move down is unfolding as a fifth wave, but it isn't finished just yet. Some altcoins like Ethereum and Doge have already tagged their bottom targets, while others, including XRP, need one last small dip to fully exhaust selling pressure before momentum can flip. Key signs to watch. The 1 hour RSI has printed a bullish divergence and holding a clear trend line. A final drop lower into this level would help confirm exhaustion. For XRP, reclaiming $2.79 by the daily close would be a strong signal, flipping that level back into support. And by the way, this is from this afternoon. This is at 3:37 p.m., so just hours ago. And then she wrapped up the post by saying, this move isn't weakness. It's a shakeout. Tight consolidation, then volatility, and now exhausted selling equals the conditions needed for the next major breakout and a fresh market trend. I'll tell you what, I sure as hell am not afraid, not even a tiny little bit. Not even a tiny little bit. I am excited for the future. I believe the best is yet ahead this market cycle, and that's the right attitude to have. And since we can't technically know for sure, then can't you just make peace with the fact you don't control the market and then be like, okay, well, I can't do anything about it, so I'll just be here in 4 years when the market rallies again? Like, that's the healthy attitude to have. Now, again, I don't think we're going to have to wait several years, but that's the right attitude to have. Because if you don't have that type of mental positioning, you're going to have a real tough time